Good morning. It is Sunday, October 13th, 2019 in Kona, Hawaii. It is 8 a.m. local time, and I've only got about 10, at most 15 minutes here to try to grab a quick recording before work. Yesterday was the 2019 World Championship for Ironman. The capacity under which I'm here in Hawaii for work for Ironman. It was a very, very revealing day. Very revealing day yet again for me personally. I would not label it a particularly quote-unquote good day. Some very powerful things are becoming abundantly clear and impossible to ignore. These things are manifesting in my world right now more so than in any other way physically, and I am dealing with pain and physical issues in my body that have worsened, in some cases worsened, and in some cases brand new pain that I've never had to mitigate or navigate. And while, yes, a part of this pain and these pains are perhaps related to and pertaining to simply getting older, but a greater part, and I would say another segment, another part of these pains is quite literally due to the physical nature, the extreme physical nature of the work that I am doing and have been doing on the Ironman circuit for the better part of these past 5 seasons. But I believe that the biggest part of this increasing physical ailments that's taking place within my body is due to my denying of, well, to put it simply, I guess it's denying of what I really desire, denying of what my soul desires, and resisting making some tough choices because of fear. And most notably, the fear is financial. It is a financial fear. I'm definitely out there, if you will, in a way that is from the surface level 3D sort of density world, a lot more risky than perhaps the stability of a normal job, but I've been out there in that way for over a decade. And I don't know what, I know I need to make some different choices. I know that because I have worked incredibly hard and I believe taken full advantage of opportunities both in quote unquote work and with my, what my relationship with my ex significant other afforded me in terms of being able to save some funds. I am in a position where I can no longer use the excuse. I am able to provide for myself the ability to make a very different choice in the upcoming calendar year of 2020. And really that means taking a mini leap of faith again and working a lot less for others, and once again basically funding myself, dipping into that savings to live on in order to be home and present once again with what I call my world of work, my little company of me, and the getting back to what I launched in 2013. It's it causes me to take pause on a number of levels, and that hesitancy is what is slowly, it just feels like I'm slowly killing myself. and then that cycles into this old energy of being a victim and not, it's just not positive what I'm experiencing. And then it causes me to project outward things that are kind of from this spiritualized ego place. And I'm just so humbled. I'm so humbled. And honestly feel pretty foolish about a number of aspects of, kind of my, I guess, of my projections. I mean, just, perhaps the biggest part is believing that there is a place for me right now in this Ironman world with the work that I'm being called to do and the work of that world. They're mutually exclusive. And it's almost embarrassing when I kind of rise above and examine some of these crazy thoughts that I've had, and they're innocent enough. Really, it's just me wanting to stay working with people that I really connect with. People whose energy levels and work levels and personal responsibility levels and teamwork capabilities far surpass anything that I've experienced yet post college, 20 plus years. And it's not easy to release that. It's not easy to think of leaving that. It has been easier for me in some ways to try to think of any way that I could merge into this world in a different way that doesn't require me, one, to be this insanely physical in this extreme unbalanced way, and two, to use some of my greater skill sets. But those skill sets, those desires, they're just not part of sort of the equation, the economic and the work equation of the Ironman, which is a very traditional, mainstream, profit generating, business model. And it's not a judgment of it, although when one begins to remain somewhere like I'm doing, when I'm being called and when all the signs are on the wall that it's not a partnership, it's not a marriage, if you will, that's meant to be, then the judgments start, then the wishing that it was something different begins. And then that is just a tricky snowball of, certainly it's not energy that's serving anybody, least of all me. And I have had a couple of experiences this season, literally the past two races, Chattanooga and here, where the writing is screaming at me on the wall. It's big, it's clear. It very clearly says, Alyson, there's just not a place for what you really desire right now, and it's okay. Release it. It's okay. And trust. And if you're meant to return, if you're meant to keep these folks in your world, it will happen. And the funny thing is too, I don't need to release it 100%, but I do need to release this world and my personal work relationship within it. I have to release how it's been for these first 5 seasons. And that just means a level of change that it's just not easy for me. I don't release well. I don't let go well. I hold on, and I suppose there are worse faults than that, but it's so amazing because this will now be, I'm calling 2019 my year of release, because I've released more in this year consciously than in any other year in this life. And I don't want to say it's taken a toll, but it's definitely not been easy. It's definitely not been easy, most certainly on my heart. And as I released my ex-significant other, we're coming up here on 10 months ago, Although it took us some months to physically separate, given our shared ownership of the home that I live in, that I had to buy him out of, I knew we were done coming up here on 10 months ago. So that was the first release, and then releasing that caused, and as I reconciled that release, the initial release, knowing that we were done, that began to make other things in my world very clear, much clearer. The next thing that was undeniable, that was no longer serving me, was the farm. And if you've read or listened to any of my recordings in the past, 4 to 6 months, I speak of the farm often, because I didn't think anything could be harder than releasing my ex, a man that I felt to my soul's depths that I was intended to be with for this life, the rest of this life. I didn't think anything was harder to release or could be harder to release than that. The farm proved to be even harder to release, and as such, a very, I don't want to say messy process, but certainly, again, it's humbling. It's humbling because when you go through these things and when you're open and raw with yourself, and again, really with the judgment energy that is just a part of it all, it can be a tough reflection to look back at, and it calls and beckons one to be gentle and compassionate and forgiving with oneself, let alone with everything and everyone outside of oneself pertaining to any particular release. Just simply the forgiveness and the compassion and the gentleness with myself has been, very, very challenging. And much like I felt almost immediately, again, I've only been done with the farm for not even a full month yet. It's only been a few weeks. Very, very little time or opportunity to even begin to process what that means. But almost immediately, as I knew and sensed would happen, my relationship within the Ironman world is clarifying and crystallizing. And yesterday was walloping from the moment I woke up on a very hard race day, if only because it comes as, what was it? Yesterday was day 8 in a row of, 12 to 15, 16-hour days in brutal heat and just exhaustion, coming off of a very hard race in Chattanooga where I only had 3 days to recover. It's just my body, and really more than anything, my heart is just not fully in this. It's not been fully in it for a couple of seasons now, and I'm in it still to this capacity because of my perceived need of the financial aspect. I do not have anything else to fall back on. People say, well, just get another job. Well, it's not that simple when you're trying to create and manifest work that is very different than the mainstream world, and especially the nature, because it's very, I won't go off on that tangent, as I do need to kind of conclude this and get to the park here for what is still 3 more days of work, of cleanup, here in Hawaii. My heart's not in it, and I'm not somebody that can fake very well. If my heart's not in it, not only is it monumentally more difficult, but it's felt by whomever I'm around, and that's not fair to do. Especially, I was not a good teammate yesterday. My attitude, I hurt physically. This numbness that's going on has expanded to during the day. It's a little challenging to mitigate the worry, the very real concern and worry I have, to not get bogged down in the limited, what I call the limited 3D way of looking at what could be going wrong with me physically. I can't really stay in that and linger in that. I don't presently have health insurance, and I don't believe that I would find relief in the traditional Western system anyway. Again, this is me, as I wrap up here, just trying to capture a little bit of a very humbling, challenging week, but it's been a very good event. We have a fantastic team here. I am honored to work with these folks, and I think that's why it's so hard to release, because I love working. I want to be out in the world contributing myself to the world, and I just, with all my heart and soul, want to be contributing to essentially to a model, a business model that is different than the one that Ironman kind of stands at the top of. And it's okay. I need to just be okay with that, be grateful for this experience, and begin to detach from it with love. I will still be working races in 2020. It remains to be determined how many and in what capacity. But I know that it's what I'm releasing is how it's been for these first 5 seasons. And my tendency is the longer I'm with something, the harder it is for me to release it. So this is a very powerful, growing, expanding time for me as the character of Alyson, with this greater awareness of myself as more than Alyson, and really being called to sort of, as I call it, rise above that character, while still being present as, like it's this multidimensionality, this awareness of it and this living of it that is something that I am still really learning and growing into. So I may or may not have the opportunity to be in my room alone. I had an opportunity for just a short period of time this morning here. They had me come in an hour and a half later than I was originally supposed to, which I don't like that either. If I can't hold my weight of my own, then I need to, I don't need to be here then. And this is a hard environment to sort of, it's almost very challenging to not be seen or not feel like I'm somehow failing or letting others down by not just pushing through in this world of Ironman. The athletes do it, and those of us that work for them do it perhaps even more so, certainly at the same level as what these athletes push through for this accomplishment. And my greater self causes me to take a step back and say, why? What are you doing? Like, unless you're fully happy doing this, why are you pushing so hard? This does not feel good. This is not fun. And that's the process that I'm smack dab in the middle of, and one that I think can have tremendous value out there to anybody else going through a similar process, either now or maybe down the line. Obviously, the specifics are unique to me, but if I often try to speak of things in a way where certainly the underlying intention is for the lessons that I am learning to be able to be extrapolated out to anyone listening to the specifics of their own life. So I'm off to work. I gotta go now. I'm going to be late, and maybe we'll get a chance to record again tonight. I will not be going to the after party, and I sense that most of my team will be, and that will give me perhaps some time here in the room alone to do some further processing and downloading, because I still have 3 days of work here, and then I have to go to Arizona for another event where I'm the lead, which means it's one of my hardest gigs. It's the hardest of the 4 remaining events is my next one, in terms of personal responsibility, like my responsibility in the role, and it will also be physical, not nearly as physical as this race, but if only because I'm on the road here for this 18 days, and I just want to be home, and I just want to be with my cats, and I just want to be doing the work that moves my soul and that doesn't just earn a paycheck. So thanks for listening, and we'll hopefully upload this later this evening. Have a great day, everyone.